Hi, my name is Jocelyn and I'll be telling the story of Rose Red and Snow White. Once upon a time, a mother lived with her two daughters in a lonely cottage at the edge of a forest. Two rose bushes grew next to the front door, one with fiery red blossoms and the other bearing delicate white flowers. The two daughters were just like the roses, and their names were Rose Red and Snow White. Rose Red was happy and carefree, as she loved to run across the fields, singing at the top of her voice. Snow White had a more gentle nature. She preferred to care for the animals, help with the housework, and read whenever she had the time. The two girls liked to help keep their mother's cottage clean and neat. Every morning in the summer, Snow White would place a fresh bouquet of flowers next to their mother's bed before she woke. In the winter, Rose Red lit the fire and put on the iron kettle. When the snow fell on cold winter nights, their mother would say, "Rose Red, Snow White, come and we shall have a story." Then they would gather close by the fire, and she would read aloud to them while the two girls listened and sewed or spun. Sometimes a newborn lamb would lie beside them, and a tame dove would perch behind them with its head tucked under its wing. One evening, as they sat by the fire, there was a banging at the door. Their mother said, "Quick, Rose Red, open the door. It must be a traveler seeking shelter." Rose Red unbarred the door and opened it. She thought she saw a man standing in the shadows, but in an instant she knew that she was wrong. For it was a bear and not a man that thrust its huge hairy head in through the door. The lamb started to bleat, the dove flew to a rafter, and Snow White hid behind her mother's chair. Rose Red tried to close the door to prevent the beast from entering, but much to the astonishment of everyone, the bear began to speak. "Do not be afraid," he said. "I will not harm you, for I am half frozen and only wish to warm myself a little." "Poor bear," said the mother. "Come and lie by the fire. Only take care not to singe your fur." Then she said to her daughters, "Come out, the bear will not harm you, for I see he is an honest creature." The two girls came out of their hiding places, and even the lamb and dove drew near. The great bear asked the girls to beat the snow out of his fur, so the sisters fetched a brush and broom and swept him dry. Then the beast stretched out in front of the fire and growled contentedly. The girls soon grew quite comfortable around their huge guest, and they teased him playfully. They tugged at his ears, sat on his back, and pretended he was a horse. Rose Red even braided some of her hair ribbons into his fur. The bear good-naturedly submitted to all their fussing. When it was bedtime, their mother said, "You are welcome to lie on the hearth, for I will not send you out on such a cold night." Then, in the morning, Rose Red unbarred the door for the bear, and he trotted out into the sunshine. All winter long, the bear came and visited the cottage. He listened to them read and let them play their games with him. If he growled at them, then they laughed and called him their dear bear. With the arrival of spring came the bear's departure. "I must go away now," he said, "and I will not return for the whole summer." "Where are you going, dear bear?" asked Rose Red. "I must go and guard my treasure. Wicked doors hide underground all winter long, but as it is warm, they'll be back to their mischief of spawning and stealing." The sisters sadly bid their friend goodbye, and Rose Red unbarred the door for him. As the bear left, a piece of his fur got caught in a nail. Rose Red thought he saw something gold glittering underneath his hairy coat, but the bear ran off into the woods before she could get a closer look. A few days later, when the girls went to the woods to collect kindling, they came upon a clearing where a huge tree had fallen. Jumping up and down on top of the trunk was a small creature, and when they came closer, they saw that it was a dwarf. The end of his long beard was stuck in a crack of the tree. "Why are you staring at me?" he screamed. "Can't you help?" "What happened?" asked Snow White. "I was splitting the tree in order to get a few chunks of wood for the kitchen stove when my beard got hot. You dummy, cousin goose. So here I am, you moon face and ninnies, and don't you dare laugh." The girls tried to hide their smiles as they attempted with all their strength to pull the dwarf's beard out of the trunk, but with no success. "You fools!" he screamed. "Can you do any better?" "Just be patient and hold still," said Snow White, who could not bear to see another in trouble or pain. She took a pair of sewing scissors out of her pocket and carefully snipped off the end of the dwarf's beard. The dwarf then jumped down from the tree and grabbed a bag of gold that was hidden amongst its roots. "Such rudeness to my beautiful beard," he muttered as he slung the bag over his shoulder and disappeared into the woods without a word of thanks to the two sisters. The next day, when the girls went to a nearby pond to catch fish for their supper, they came along their new acquaintance, the dwarf, hopping along the shore like an enormous grasshopper. His long beard was tangled in a piece of fishing line, and the other end of the line had a large fish. The fish was too strong for the little man and dragged him closer and closer to the water's edge. The girls ran to the dwarf and held him fast, but they had no luck of untangling his beard. Snow White had no choice but to cut off another small piece of it. The dwarf flew into a rage. "You toad! he screams. You have disfigured me again. My people left me, and it is all your fault. Then he fetched a sack of pearls that had lain hidden nearby and dragged it away. Not long after, the girls were sent to town to buy needles, thread, and ribbons. The road led through a field that was strewn with large boulders. As they walked along, they noticed an eagle circling the sky above them. The eagle slowly descended and settled on a nearby rock. Suddenly, a sharp cry pierced the air. The girls ran forward and saw the dwarf dangling from the talons of the great bird. "Help!" he cried. The girls ran to the dwarf and grabbed hold of his feet. They were almost carried away as well. Finally, the eagle let loose his prey, and all three tumbled to a heap on the ground. When the dwarf recovered from his fall, he began to scream at the sisters. Again. "Why were you more careful? You could turn my coat to shreds, you useless wretches!" Then he grabbed a bag of precious gems that had laid hidden behind a nearby bush and vanished under a rock. The girls, who'd become quite accustomed to his ill treatment, just shook their heads and continued on to town. But on their way home, as they passed through the same field, he surprised the dwarf as he was pouring out his bag of gems upon a flat rock. It was late in the day, and he must have thought that no one would be passing by at that hour. The gems sparkled so beautifully in the rays of the setting sun that the girls drew near to gaze at them. "What are you gaping at?" snarled the dwarf. His face turned dark with rage. Then the ill-tempered little man began to jump up and down, up and down. He spluttered and could not get out even a single word. So great was his anger at being discovered. He started to gather up his gems when a ferocious growl was heard in the distance. Moments later, a huge brown bear trotted out of the woods. The dwarf leapt back in fear, but the bear was already too close for him to escape. "Oh, please, great bear, spare me, and you will get a big reward!" he cried. "All the precious gems will be yours if you will let me go!" But the bear continued to growl deep in his throat and continued lumbering toward the cowering dwarf. "I'm big and old and not tasty at all," whined the pitiful creature. "Here, look at those plump girls. Surely they will be more tender morsels for you. Eat them, I say, not me, for goodness sake!" But the bear did not heed the little man's words and gave him a single blow with its huge paw. The dwarf fell dead in an instant. The girls held on to each other in fright and ran toward home. But the bear called after them, "Rose Red, Snow White, don't you remember me? Don't be afraid." The girls recognized the voice of their dear bear and stopped. Then Rose Red and Snow White stood quite still, for a marvelous sight appeared before them. As the bear approached, he rose up onto his hind legs, and his furry brown coat slid to the ground. A dashing young man dressed in all gold stood in his place. "I am the son of a king," he explained, "bespelled by that evil dwarf who stole my treasure. I was forced to wander in the shape of a bear until his death freed me from the enchantment. Now he has just got his rewards for his evil deeds." The bear, or prince rather, did not forget the kindness and friendship of the two sisters and often visited them in the humble cottage. Years passed and the girls grew into fine young women. In time, Rose Red married the prince, her dear bear, and Snow White married his brother. Their mother lived with them happily for many years. She brought the 2 rose bushes with her from the cottage and planted them outside her window at the castle. They bloomed beautifully each year and bore the most fragrant red and white roses in the kingdom. The end.